Welcome to our Research Like a Pro question and answer series. And today we have a fun question about adding clarifying information to a source citation. And I will add that this is a question about an Irish record, which will be fun to talk about. So the question is about citing an Irish civil marriage record. And this is the original citation that was created by one of our Research Like a Pro members. And let me just read through this, and then we're going to talk about a lot of different things. So this is the citation. Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport, and Media. Civil Records, Online Database, Civil Marriage Record for Henry Burge and Kate Delaney, 5 November 1878, Civil Registration District, Dublin South, Group Registration ID 2639411, Entry and Register number 32. IrishGenealogy.ie, and then we have the URL, access date, and then master indexes and digital images, the General Register Office, Public Research Facility, Werburgh Street, Dublin, Ireland. So the question from this great citation is about the term master indexes and digital images. Although not a title in my investigation into these records, this is how the materials are referred to that were used to create the online records on IrishGenealogy.ie. Does this work in the citation as I have written it? Okay. So I thought it would be really instructive for us to look at a few things that this researcher also did that I thought was really amazing. So first of all, let's just review the steps for creating a source citation. So first we have to thoroughly understand the source, which is a step we may skip over. And it's easy to do that. And we're going to look at how we can understand better this Irish civil record. And then we answer the 5 questions. And of course, understanding the source will help us better answer the questions. So here's a screenshot of the website, IrishGenealogy.ie, and you can see that they have church records, civil records, then they have other places where you can learn, get feedback, and various other parts of the website. So anytime you have a website like this that maybe is relatively new to you, it's a new record type to you, I would encourage you to dive deep into the website and see what it can tell you. So in this case, if you go to civil records, and we are discussing a civil marriage record, then we do get a lot of sections on the help page that will tell us more information about these civil records. But what I was really impressed with this researcher, what she did was to actually create a document explaining everything that she learned and going into more depth. And so she shared this document with me, and I'm just showing you a bit of it. But I thought this was so great because you will notice that she took notes from various sources, and her source citations cite other people who are actually discussing the records. So she didn't just rely on the website. She went outside of that and tried to understand much more about this record type because it can be confusing, and we're going to see why in a minute. So here are just some thoughts for you as you're working on understanding the source. You could look at the background of the records. You could explore the record keeping system, which may be complicated in a lot of our areas of research. And then you could see if there were changes through the years to the structure of record keeping. I can guarantee that how they were keeping the records in 1850 perhaps changed by 1900. And so we'll want to understand this whole history. And then the responsibility for the records. Who actually is responsible for them now and historically? So you can see that to really understand the source, you may need to do some additional research. So here is just a little summary that I made for us to look at from the researcher's great work. And so we can learn that civil registration of non-Roman Catholic marriages began in Ireland in 1845, and registration for all births, marriages, and deaths on the island began in 1864. So we have 2 different dates. So that's always good to keep in mind when we are looking for our people. In 1845, local district offices were created based on the poor law union boundaries, and these offices were to handle civil registration. But then we have another thing. We have something called dispensary districts, which were a subdivision of those poor law unions, and they also handled civil registration. So, research in Ireland is tricky because of many jurisdictions and boundaries, and you can get a little glimpse of that in this little summary here. Now, when we're talking about the record keeping system, this was very interesting. The local registrar tracked the births, marriages, and deaths in a local registration volume. When that was filled up or completed, the registrar forwarded it to the superintendent registrar who made a copy. So this was a larger jurisdiction. And then every 3 months, the superintendent registrar forwarded all copies from his union for the preceding quarter to the general register office in Dublin. So we have got an original, and then we've got a copy that gets sent on to the GRO. And then those copies were used to create centralized All Ireland indexes. So we have two sets of records, the original unindexed registers held locally and the transcribed copy of the original at the GRO, which is what we use in research, unless we want to go local and go visit or contact someone there. So this is generally what we are using. So after all that, let's actually look at the source. And here is a copy of the civil marriage of Henry Burge and Kate Delaney, 5 November 1878, Dublin, Ireland. Now, on this page, I only took a screenshot of the very bottom of it. There are 4 marriage records, just like this above. And then down here at the very bottom, you can see that it talks about how this person of St. Peter's Parish in the county of Dublin hereby certifies that the foregoing comprising 4 entries, numbered 29, 30, 31, and 32, is a true copy of the entries so number made in the marriage register books of the said parish. Okay, so he's making a copy and he's sending it on. And if I were to show you this, the whole page, you would see that the handwriting was the same on all of those, all the previous copies there. And so this is an example of what you would get, and this is from IrishGenealogy.ie. And there's some identifying information. This was number 32. We have the date, we have the people. And so, how are we going to create a citation for this interesting record that is now digitized? So, creating the source citation, the researcher also sent how she had broken out using the 5 questions. So we're going to take a look at that. Remember, when we have our 5 questions, we have the who created the source. So right here, it was the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport, and Media. And then what is the source? It was the Civil Records online database index with images and the civil marriage record for Henry Burge and Kate Delaney. And then when was it created, or when did the event occur? So we have the date in 1878. Wherein is the source? We have that it's imaged in the Civil Records online database, and that it was from the Civil Registration Office of Dublin South. And then we have a group ID number and an entry number, which we already saw on the document. And then where is the source? Well, it's online at IrishGenealogy.ie. And so putting that together, we have something that looks like this. Now, because this is a layered citation, we also want to look at the specific layers and see how that's all working. So when we look at the physical layer, that was the General Register Office, but the digital layer is created by this department, which is stated there on IrishGenealogy.ie. What is the source? The civil marriage record is the physical. The digital layer is basically the same, except for we're noting that it was part of a collection of civil records and it's an online database. When was it? It was, the date it occurred, and then we have the access date for the digital layer. Where is the source? Physically, it would be at the GRO in Dublin. Digitally, it is on the website, IrishGenealogy.ie, and then wherein is the source. So we've got a physical layer, which the researcher has noted is master indexes and digital images at the Civil Registration District Office in Dublin, and then the identifying information. And the digital layer is the same pretty much as the physical layer. So when we put this all together, what can we see? Well, we have, when I put together just the physical layer, I put together all the things that the researcher identified as physical here and all the things that they identified as digital here. So you can see this would be kind of a long citation if we just kept everything exactly the same. And so the question that's good to ask for a layered citation is, can we simplify a bit? Can we not repeat some information? Are there some things we could just omit from one of the layers so that it's more simple, but it's still a good citation and helps us understand where to get this record? So here was the submitted citation, and this is it colored so you can see the different answers to the questions, the 5 questions. So let's just read both of these because I made a couple changes, and so you can see if you agree with me or not. And really, both citations will get you to the source. So the what is the Department of Tourism Culture. It's a long title for that what, isn't it? Or for the who created the source, that the website. And then we have the Civil Records Online Database, and then Civil Marriage Record for Henry Burge. So basically, we have the who and the what, and then we have the when, and then we have the where in. So all the details about where in, and then the where is in purple, and then the date of access. And then for the physical layer, we've got the who created it, and then we have the where is it and the where in. Okay, so in this original submitted citation, you can see that there were some things omitted. So the researcher put just the information in one layer, which is great, and just put the what in the physical or in the layer here in the digital layer, and didn't repeat all that information. So this is a much more succinct than if we had just taken physical and digital and put them together. So this is always a choice, how you put these together. But the great thing is that here's a semicolon and we are keeping physical and digital together. So when I looked through that, I thought of a couple things that I would do if this were my citation. And it is an art, not a science. So this is how I would do it. I would keep this just the same for all the beginning part. And the main change that I did was to move this information about the Civil Registration District Office in Dublin, all of this. And I just moved that down to the physical layer because I felt like that, even though it could be in both, we wouldn't want it in both. I felt like it would go well with the actual physical layer. Now, that was my choice. I like to have the first part of the citation be pretty clean and clear, and I feel like sometimes this does muddy it up a bit, and the information is there for everyone to see. I also did some shortening of the repositories. So we've already said General Register Office here, so I shortened it to just GRO here, paring that down just a bit. And the original question was, should we have master indexes and digital images? And I thought, yes, that's really good. Now that we understand how this record was created, that they made master indexes from all of the copies that were sent in and then they digitized those, I think that's perfectly fine to do that description. So sometimes when you are doing your citations and you're delving into the source, you want something that helps to either trigger your memory or to help educate someone else who's looking at your citation about this, to be a little bit more descriptive. So I would say, yes, keep that in there. That is a good addition. So I hope that gave some ideas about when you're creating your own citations, especially these layered citations that come from websites that maybe don't give you as much information as you would hope. You might have to dig into researching the source as much as you are researching your people. So good luck in creating those source citations.